Welcome to Dirt Crossroads, where we will explore what it means to be a young person living in rural America, along with rural values, well being, and what it means to live a life well lived. Dirt Crossroads is brought to you by Rural Youth Catalyst. I'm Kathleen Moxon.
And I'm Kim Finney, and we are the co founders of Rural Youth Catalyst.
So I'd like to introduce our guest today. Our guest is Abby Ritter. Abby is the Youth Advisory Specialist for the Association of Programs for Rural Independent Living. We know it as April, and you'll probably hear us refer to it as April during this podcast. Abby's a disabled music therapist and an activist from Worcester, Massachusetts. April is a disability-led national nonprofit membership organization that works to advance the equity of people with disabilities in rural communities through advocacy, collaboration, shared experience, leadership development, education, and training. Abby, you do so many things around both the disability community and intersectionality with gender identity and so many other facets of life. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you're doing that excites you these days?
I would be so happy to do that. Also, hello, it's very nice to see you both and to chat with you both. So I would say that since the pandemic, my life has really focused in very heavily on disabled youth and on the ways that we can support disabled youth in growing their leadership skills and ultimately improving their overall well-being. So one of the main programs that I'm running right now at April is called the April Lead On Collaborative. So the Lead On Collaborative, the name was taken from a quote by Justin Dart, who was a well-known member of the disability justice movement, who has unfortunately since passed away. But we take 15 to 20 young people between the ages of 15 and 30. We have them meet weekly on Zoom after they go through an application process where they get to learn about the leadership skills that they have identified as being important to them. So we bring in people from the disability community to talk about the things that they do and the skills that they've gained so that they can pay it forward and help the next generation of young disabled people. So we've had the chance to partner with a lot of really cool organizations and cool individuals, all while creating a little network of kind of the next generation of leaders within the disability community. At the end of the program, we bring all of the Lead On Collaborative participants to our annual national conference, the April Independent Living Conference. We just had it in October this year. We'll be in Chicago in October next year. So we're looking forward to getting a new group together and bringing them to Chicago to connect with the rest of the disability community to help run the youth conference, to show more youth the kind of things that they could be doing in a program like this, and to grow the IL movement.
Very good.
I would say the other very cool thing that I get to do is outside of, but I guess also in partnership with April, I sit on the board of directors of Disability Empower Network, which is a organization run by and for women with disabilities that is looking to empower girls, women, and femme-aligned non-binary folks with disabilities through mentorship and transformational learning experiences. So we run a wide variety of programs, but I have to say the closest to my heart is Empower Camp, which is a year-long program in which we bring 6 to 10 girls and femme-aligned young disabled kids to a fully accessible campground in the Adirondacks, so very rural upstate New York. And it is a full accessible campground. They camp for a week and they get the chance to connect with women with disabilities. They get paired up into mentor-mentee pairs, and then they spend a year working on a community impact project in which They are trying to address issues around disability and emergency and disaster preparedness within their communities. At the end of the year, we bring everybody to Washington, D.C. to reconnect, to present to members of the disability community and people who are working in emergency and disaster prep in DC. They get the chance to meet with their senators or the staff of their senators.
Oh,
And we
wow.
just have a good time. We go sightseeing, we go to museums, and we get to really bond as a group after not seeing each other for a year. So I adore both of these programs and really everything we do both at April and Empower Network. And I think it so is about increasing equity and well-being. Everything we do, we try to hit those points.
So building right off of that, Abby, and being a part of the working group, in your perspective, why is it so critical for our work to focus and be shaped around well-being and equity for rural and Native youth, particularly now, and particularly for rural and Native youth?
I think really I would say now, for one, because it hasn't been done and nobody's been paying attention to it, at least
Mm,
not on the larger scale. So, if not now, when? When will we
yeah,
make the effort to pay attention to not what people are doing, but how they're doing?
yeah.
Because it people can
Mm,
be doing all kinds of things, and I can tell you even from personal experience that I, as an autistic person, can work and can manage a household and can, support other people. But am I doing it because I need to and I have no other choice, or am I
mm,
doing it because it's what I want to do?
mhm,
And I think that we really need to be paying attention to that and nipping it in the bud with youth
mhm, mhm.
early, because it's really hard to unlearn the obligation of I'm doing this because I feel like I have to.
Yeah.
And uh being well and being happy can go hand in hand with the things that you're doing in your life, but once you start down one path it can be hard to turn around. So I think
Mhm,
that's one point. And then I also think that we exist, at least here in the US, in a very capitalist focused society. um Most of what we do is about, you mentioned this earlier, it's about outcomes. It's about who's getting a job, who isn't getting a job, how can we have these folks, have everybody be contributing to society. And for whatever reason, the only way we consider that's acceptable to contribute to society is by working and by paid employment. um I just think that that's false, especially thinking about it through a disability lens.
mm,
um
mhm,
there are a lot of disabled people in the world, uh rural and native young disabled people who maybe can't work or don't
mhm,
want to work, but they want to live full lives and be part of their
mhm,
community
mhm.
and support their loved ones in the ways that they can. They want to be supported by their loved ones and by their community. And shouldn't we make it a priority as a society to help people do that?
That's an
Yeah,
interesting point
yeah.
when how we define contributing adults in our country. And if it is only about work, that just leaves out 90 to 95% of somebody's life or what they're passionate about. So how could we expand that definition of contributing adults beyond just work?
I even think about it just on such a small scale, thinking about people's hobbies. Like if you
Mhm,
have a friend who makes jewelry, or if you have a friend who, knits or crochets, or people who like to paint, the first thing that somebody will say to them is, "Oh, do you have a store? Do you sell those?"
yeah.
Well, no, why?
Right,
Like can't
right.
I can't I make gifts? Can't I do this just because it makes me happy, not because I have to turn this thing that I love into money?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So true. So true. Abby, you've been a member of our working group since the beginning. How do you think the focus, this idea that was introduced about the 9 domains of well-being, how has that already changed what you're doing?
Um, I have been making a really concerted effort to incorporate the 9 domains of well-being into the conversations that I'm having with the young people I'm working with. Through Lead On, we asked everybody who applied to complete the happiness scales. I kind of modified them
Wow.
to both be plain language, so folks at any reading level would be able to understand them, and modified them a bit to really apply to the individual rather than an entire nation.
Right.
But we asked them to fill them out just to kind of get an idea of what if we could see any trends across applications. And then I did exit interviews with them and I asked them to fill them out again.
Oh, wow.
And it was very interesting. I can't say that we saw any like really, really strong trends other than an increase in the domain of education, which makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But I would actually say I think we had an increase as well in the uh, community vitality area as well, which I thought was just so cool because
Yeah.
the secret, not so secret aim of programs like Lead On um, and Empower Camp is to create a network of young people where they can call upon each other for help and support. Um, so yes, they're learning about negotiating wages and how to get involved in community action and how to become a better communicator, but also they're making friends and they
Right.
are
Right.
expanding their networks to be able to reach out to other people when they have questions or they need help with something. Um, we had one person who it really, really struck me how um, stark the difference was for her in one particular area. She had set a goal for herself that she wanted to start working full time and fully be off of her disability checks. And that was her
Wow.
goal for herself.
Wow.
And over the 6 months from when she applied to when she completed the program, she had done that. She had gotten herself off disability and
Wow.
was working across, I think, 2 different jobs, piecing together something that was full time. So then when she did the happiness skills is kind of what I was calling them. Again, one of the biggest fall in her numbers, I guess, was in time use, which I had defined as I have enough time to do the things I enjoy with friends and family.
Mm-hmm.
So, in getting to work full time, now she has less
Yes.
time to do it, just fully reflected exactly like the way that her life had gone in those 6 months. And it was just so cool to see that just
Mm-hmm.
happen in a real like tangible example.
Yeah. So, Abby, folks, both some of the members of the working group, as well as others outside of the working group that have just heard about the group and what we're all up to and this work, have described this focus of our group as revolutionary. Now, we know that you are coming from the an organization, and certainly one would call the IL movement and its mission revolutionary. So I would like to think that you are a pretty good expert on the ability to respond to this question. From your perspective, what makes what we're up to, this work, the focus of this working group and this focus on well-being, revolutionary?
I would say, first and foremost, the fact that the group brings together so many people working in so many different facets is huge. I think we've talked about this during our meetings, like during the times when we as a group get together, about silos and about the ways that each organization thinks, I'm going to fix it, we're going to fix it, and this is how we're going to do it. And they look at it from their lens as working in independent living or in apprenticeship or in K through 12 education or through the arts. And all of those pieces are important, but we can't fix everything from our own lens because that's not taking into account the whole person. So bringing together all of these people is already looking at it from a much wider scope than I think people might be on a larger scale. And also, well-being and thinking about everything through well-being means that we are looking at the larger picture. We are not there just to say, all right, we're gonna, make sure that everybody here gets an apprenticeship. We're gonna make sure that every person here gets connected to their Center for Independent Living if they qualify. We're not just making sure that people graduate high school. And maybe those things are all important to those people, but probably not for everybody. And by bringing in those people, by looking at all these different aspects of people's well-being, of their happiness, of the larger way in which they live their life, we can actually, I think, create a framework that could point to sustainable change and not just change that is there until the money runs out.
Such a good point when we're thinking about sustainable change, not just change in one grant cycle or one funding cycle. And it really is a culture change, right? To think on this much larger level, not just in the programs in which we work, but across programs, to meet the many myriad of needs that young people have. Hey, Abby, I want to thank you for joining us today. I can tell we need to have you back to talk more about the programs you're doing. And I will say that Rural Youth Catalyst appreciates the partnership with April.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And you. Thank you.
We are so grateful to be involved and to have a seat at the table. And I really love getting to connect with everybody. It's such a I don't know, like a great, I don't know how to say this, but it really is just a joy to be able to connect with people who all care about the same issues and to have conversations that feel so fulfilling around them. So thank you very much. And thank you for having me today.
That's great. You've been listening to Dirt Crossroads, brought to you by Rural Youth Catalyst. This is part of our Right to Flourish series. Today, we talked to Abby Ritter from April, and I hope you'll tune in to future podcasts featuring other members of the Rural Youth Wellbeing Working Group. Thanks.
Thanks, Abby.